Hi, guys. I just finished going through filling out this sketchbook that I started in 2021. 2021 is when I discovered watercolor and started playing around a little bit here and there. And back at that time, I found this sketchbook at Job Lots, Ocean State Job Lots. I think it's the same as, what is the other one called? Odd Lots or something like that. And anyway, I believe it's Strathmore. Strathmore Visual Journal. It's 100% cotton, vellum finished mixed media paper, and I think I had gotten it back at the time for around $8 for 68 pages. That was a really good deal. So I wanted to play around in it, to practice some techniques, see what this paper was like at the time. I was buying all different kinds of paper, and I still have not gotten any of the super expensive papers yet. But it's the first page I painted on, and this was one of my very first paintings, and it actually was pretty decent, I thought. And I swatched out my colors on this page, and those colors I believe were from this palette, which I've got a light reflection. This is Spirafarben, and I looked these up on Amazon the other day to see how much they were, and they're actually gone up from where they were when I bought them. I'm sorry, I'm holding the camera with one hand and filming with the other, but they're a decent set of watercolors, but the price now has gone up to $27. It comes with one or two little pads of watercolor paper. I mean, the paints are very nice. They're very nice, but you can get sets cheaper in the $20 range, like the Meilang set by Paul Rubens is very nice, and I think that one's on sale for about $20 right now for a pretty big size set. I don't remember how many paints, but anyways, so this was the first thing I did. I painted this tree and swatched out my colors, and then here I was just playing with some techniques. I wanted to see how this paper would handle wet on wet and bleeding and different brush strokes and things like that. Again, I was brand new. I had no clue what I was doing, what I was looking for, what the paper was supposed to do, things like that. So I was just playing and discovering. And then I found Diane Antone on YouTube, and I really liked her tutorial. So I did this one after watching one of hers, and she's really good. You can find her on YouTube. She's got free sketches on her website for a lot of her tutorials. The ones that she draws out. She hasn't been doing a lot of that lately, but there's quite a few sketches on there that you can download. You can offer to pay to pay an amount like $1, or you can just put a 0 in there and the sketch is free. And then I put this aside. I didn't work on this every single day from 2021 to today. I put this aside. I worked in other sketchbooks, but I see a couple of months ago I pulled this one out again while I was sitting down in my studio space and listening to a broadcast, and I decided to just do some doodling while I was listening to. I think I'm ADD. I can't have to be doing more than one thing at a time. I can't just sit and listen. I have to be doing something with my hands. So I started doing what these are called neurographic lines, where you kind of make lines all over the paper, and then you go in and where the lines intersect, where they cross each other and they're kind of at an angle, you round off that angle. It's called rounding, and it's supposed to be very soothing and therapeutic, and it really is. Anybody can do it. It will come out looking like art, even if you don't know what you're doing, if you've never done any type of art before. Sorry, I'm just switching hands. It's fun. I think what I did on this one is I drew shapes first, and then I did the neurolines, and then I added color. And this one, I added color with watercolor pencils and a little bit of lines and pencils. This one I was going to add some lines and squiggles and circles and stuff using gel pens, but I lost interest in that. It wasn't feeling fun, so I stopped and moved on to the next one. So this one, I don't know if I'll ever finish it. I don't know if I'll ever finish any of these, or I'll just put the book away and say, okay, next book. I don't know. We'll see. This one, I made various size circles, and then I painted them, colored them in with watercolor paint, added a few flower petals and dots and squiggles and splatter. I really enjoy splattering the watercolor paint. It's just something I like to do. I really don't know where I was going with this one. I started to color it, didn't really like where it was going, so I took looks like a red or an orange marker and decided to make some neural lines in a different color. I don't know. Who knows what my mind was doing that day? This one I did a background the night before and I let it dry. I came out really pastel and I liked it. I thought the background was so delicate that the lines needed to be delicate too. So I made a very fine line pen to do the lines and tried to do the intersecting as delicately as I could, and of course some splatter. And this one, just a spiral, just a spiral with colors swooshed in, and then lines and more neurologic stuff. If you don't know what neurographic art is, or neurographica, neurographic, neurographic. You can look it up and see what it's all about, who started it, how it's used as art therapy, things like that. There are workshops you can attend to teach you the algorithms, how to do things for certain results. And I'm not into all that, into the healing property of it. I just like to do it because it's very calming, and you can get a decent piecing. You can get a decent piece of art. I mean, really, it's art. You're drawing, you're painting, and anybody can do it. Little kids can do it. Older people, middle of the road people who have never made anything before. On this one, I decided I was going to outline the shapes. I did this one wet on wet the paper, put the colors down, let them dry, and then the next day I took a fine pen and I outlined the different sections of color, and I just kind of left them that way, but I didn't like it, so I fell back to the old standby and did some neuro lines on it. But I like the pink and the yellow together. I thought that was a good combination. No clue what I was doing here, but it felt good. I think I started with a big scribble in the middle, and then I did lots of lines and scribble in some color. It looks like it was a frustrating day. I started to color and I didn't know where I wanted to go. And I guess coloring really isn't my thing. I used to enjoy it, but yeah, I just gave up on that. And here's one without any color at all, just the lines, just the rounding of the intersections, no splatter. This stuff here is just accidental, just plain black and white. This one I had an idea. I was going to do kind of a landscape and with waves of different colors. I had a vision in my head, but this didn't come out anything like the vision in my head, which is pretty standard procedure for me. Like, it never comes out the way I'm thinking it should. And I started to draw little flowers, but I got bored with that too. So I went on to the next. And this was Easter time. I was sitting here listening to a preacher I like to listen to, and I just wanted to make something to honor Jesus. So, I mean, I didn't want to paint Jesus. I don't feel worthy to paint his face, but I can paint a cross. I can draw a cross. And that's what I did on this one. And I drew the cross in gold pen so it would stand out. This one I just painted stripes on the page. I think I wet the page first, and I had so that colors would bleed into each other when they touched. They were still wet in some places, but I tried to put colors next to each other. If they were going to touch, I put colors next to each other that play well together, that sit next to each other on the color wheel. And then, of course, the neuro lines over it. And then I got this idea of, hey, instead of drawing neural lines with a pen, how about if I take a paintbrush and paint neural lines all over a page with different colors, and when it's dry, I'll just go back and outline the lines, and then where they intersect, I'll round the corners. And that's what I did here, all different colors. you know, I just went through making lines, 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 and then I outlined each line, both sides of the lines, and rounded them off. I think I splattered some gold ink right there. I'm casting a shadow because my head is over my head. The light is overhead. There's a gold star there. I used gold calligraphy ink and I splattered it and made some gold dots and things like that. So this was a fun style for me to do, to just make up lines, different colored lines, and I started doing it instead of just grabbing colors willy-nilly out of the paint box, and I started choosing a color palette, colors that work well together, like purple and aqua and teal and a little bit of yellow. And I did this. I drew the lines over each other while they were still wet, so they kind of bled into each other, and I got some cool effects. And then again, outlined, rounded the corners. I just see some corners that I did not round. I'm gonna have to come back to this one. See this here? I didn't do those. I'd have to come back to this page because it is not finished. And on this one, I spattered and I circled the spatters with black ink. So they're just kind of random circles, and I circled the circles. I outlined the circles. Well, this was an interesting color scheme. I wanted to do reds and oranges, and it was looking kind of boring, so I threw in some turquoise. I don't think that was the best idea, but it is what it is, right? I mean, this is a sketchbook. In your sketchbook, you're not looking to make some kind of beautiful Picasso or, you know, anything like that. You just want to pull out your sketchbook. You want your sketchbook to be a safe place where you can just open it up, pull out your paints, and just play. Throw down some water, throw down some color, and do some line work if you feel so inclined, or you can just leave it painted. It's just fun. It's relaxing. It really is a great way to relax. I highly recommend anybody who's stressed out, worried, anxious, just really get yourself a cheap set of kids' watercolors. The paints will be low quality. They'll be chalky. You know, they're not going to be artists. They're not going to be artist quality. They're not going to be archival. But who cares? Go to Walmart, get a cheap set of watercolors, get a cheap set of brushes, get some cheap paper, and have some cheap fun. Really. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. And you don't even have to show it to anybody. This one is nice and pastel circles. I outlined the circles in gold. And back to the stripes. I wanted greens this time. It was springy. Looks like May 1st. I was feeling it. I was feeling the spring, so. And back to purple and yellow. Purple's my favorite color, so you'll see a lot of purple in the things I do. It's where I fall back to. So, yep. Love purple. And oh, this is different. Look at this. I decided to go with some rectangles. I just painted rectangles overlapping. While they were still wet, the colors would bleed into each other. I sprinkled in clean water to make, what do you call them, cauliflower blooms. I did little dashes and dots and just things on the wet paint to get some texture. I spattered. Some people call it splatter, some call it spatter. And then I outlined each rectangle, and then I rounded where they intersect. And I missed one right here. Okay, I'm getting close to the end. Here's another one with circles. I keep coming back to circles. They're relaxing. I enjoy them. It's really fun to paint them and then paint one that touches them, and then you can see how the colors will bleed into each other and do cool things. Watercolor is fun. I discovered it 3 years ago, and I haven't gotten bored with it yet. There's just always going to be so much to learn. This one, I was in a pink mood, and I think this was around Easter. And pink and peach, and I just was in that pinky mood. Then here I did squares. I like this one, just overlapping squares in blues and greens. And again, splatter and outline them and connect, round out the corners. And that's it. So simple. anybody can paint a square. Seriously. This is just a little delicate one. I didn't do a lot of lines in it. I didn't do a whole lot of line work. I just kind of left it wide open. And this one is the complete opposite. This is like a super heavy duty lines, and that was fun too. I even did the rounding of the intersections in heavier lines. Just I think this one kind of looks like stained glass when the lines are heavier like this. I kind of like it. And this is the last one. I did it one night. I did the background one night. I was really making a mess. First I was just throwing blues and greens on the page, and where there was white space in between, I thought, oh, I'll put some yellow. So I did. And this one I have rays coming out of it, like it, like it's the sun with blue rays. I don't know. Thicker lines, thicker rounding, more a bit like stained glass than anything else. But yeah, that's it. That's the entire sketchbook. This is the first sketchbook I've ever completely filled. Like I said, I have other sketchbooks that I pull out and I do things in. And I very rarely pull out a loose piece of paper and do a painting. It's almost always in a sketchbook for some reason. I think because I'm still learning and practicing, and I feel like everything I paint is practice, and it's not going to be worth being on a loose piece that maybe could go into a frame. But I'm getting there. So I just wanted to share that sketchbook with you before I put it up on a shelf and probably don't look at it again for a few years. And I hope you enjoyed it. I really hope you'll give this a try, the neurographic, the colors with the ink work. It is so much fun, so relaxing. It takes your mind off of whatever's bothering you, and just play for an hour. Give yourself time. You owe it to yourself, Sit down with your kids. Get the kids sitting around the table and just have some fun. I bet you they'll love it, and so will you. And I'll see you next time, guys. Have a great Memorial Day weekend. Bye-bye.